people that I really looked up to, teachers telling me I'd become a stat. Oh,
Really?
right. Yeah, bro. Oh, Raymond, you let yourself down. Oh, Raymond, you're another. I don't want what my dad had, the revolving escalator of work, pub, home, work, pub, home. I didn't want that, where I was like looking for help because I was so terrified after watching my parents of having a poor marriage, a bad marriage, a marriage where there wasn't much love. But what I'm saying is that awareness is a skill and an element, is being part of the success and continual work on for my success as a husband and a father. Set goals. You have got nothing if you don't set goals. There's going to be a time where you have to be out of balance. Just don't let it be forever. Appreciate it. Up the waz.
Hey everyone, welcome to this education podcast. Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask you. If you enjoy this show and get value from it, help us grow by sharing it. Send it to a friend, post it on social media, and don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. The bigger this community gets, the more powerful conversations we can bring you, or to help you unlock new levels of success in your personal and professional life. Thanks for being here, and now let's get into the episode. Well, brother, thank you again for coming onto the show. Actually, thank you for flying all the way from Tauranga just to be on this podcast. It means a lot. I know you have a podcast of your own as well, and I definitely recommend that you guys go check it out. But on today's podcast episode, we're going to talk about a common challenge that a lot of people deal with. You know, how do you balance your busy work and also busy life at home as well, right? We've got the man Ray here who at the age of 16, had his first child. At the age of 26, became a principal of school. Now, a couple of years later, catapult into the entrepreneurship space, launched a tech company with his wife. So they're partners in business and also partners in family and in life as well, raising 2 children together, right? Like, man, people might listen on this and be like, how does he do it, right? And I know you're pretty big on balancing being a father and husband at home, and that's your most important role out of all the hats that you wear. But before we get into that conversation, brother, we always like to ask our guest, give us a brief journey around, what makes Ray today. Start anywhere you want.
Yeah, kia ora koutou. I originate from the capital city of Tokoroa. Born and bred down there. I'm of Ngāti Raukawa descent. Ngāti Ahuru is my hapu, Ngāti Marae is my tūturu, my place of belonging. And yeah, I born and bred to Pākehā dad and Māori mum. And Tokoroa was an awesome place to grow up, bro. Very multicultural, a lot of Samoan, a lot of kuki, a lot of Māori. South Africans, even though I didn't really understand what South Africans were when I was a kid. We just all grew up, and it was a really awesome childhood that I experienced in terms of, we would still be able to roam the streets at night, and if you got into mischief, someone kicked you up the backside. It didn't matter who it was, but culturally, I was exposed to a lot of different things, and in my travels, it really has continued to support my growth. I'm the youngest of 3, and ended up picking up a scholarship to go to a school in Hamilton for my last couple of years of school. Went from Tokoroa, from Forestry High School to a very wealthy school, St Paul's Collegiate. Became a dad, 16 to my son Cortez. His mother and I weren't together. We were just kids, bro, but realised I had to make something of my life and stop being the joker. And St Paul's really turned my life around. Went to university, became a teacher, first to graduate out of uni, bro. That was an awesome experience. University was wicked. Pretty driven, became principal within 3.5 years. Hated it. Just felt like I couldn't be myself, couldn't be authentic, couldn't tell parents what I really thought. Kind of lent into that entrepreneurial space, which that wasn't a thing, bro. That wasn't a word really that I knew. Just like being in charge of my own kaupapa. And fast forward to where we are today. Happily married 15 years with my wife. Courtney, and my two babies, my two youngest babies. Frankie is 7 and Marlo is 10, and yeah, I just love my life.
Wow. A father at the age of 16, but yet you still pursued further education. And I
Mm.
imagine a lot of people who have kids young, the default is just go find a job because
Yes,
now I'm responsible for a kid. I've got to provide.
yes,
Like, tell us about that part of the journey because I'm sure there's a lot of people there who are probably thinking, do I have a kid now or after
mm.
I've done all my education and degrees and stuff? Like, it's still possible to do both.
Yeah. Oh, bro, like the rite of passage in Tukoroa was go to the mill. The pulp and paper mill was kind of like that's what people did. But I watched my dad just on a revolving, escalator, just into work, go to the club, home, into work, go to the club, home, party, and although Cortez was a tough time in my life, was the blessing is it shunted me into knowing that actually I wanted more. And what more was back then is different to what more is now. I think I probably even would move away from the word more to saying better. But in that setting there, I had to make a decision. I wanted my son to be proud of me. I wanted him to look at me and think, "Oh, you weren't just another teenage dad." And with that, I still think that was part of my own ego, probably stepping in there. But ultimately, bro, like Cortez really put my A into G and pushed me into going out and furthering myself. And part of it, bro, was also like being a teacher. I would have holidays off when he was at school, and all those sorts of things that I thought through that I didn't get with my whānau. My mum and dad were just working all the time, and school holidays we just stayed at home, or did whatever, or got sent to the marae or whatever. Yeah, it was all built on what I wanted to experience and what I wanted life to be like for me and for Cortez, and then obviously where we are today, having time and freedom to come up and do things like this is an indication that I've continued to really build on that.
Awesome. And I think that's what a lot of people are striving for these days is that balance and having a little bit more flexibility and
Mm,
autonomy to do things with their family. Finding a job or pursuing a career where it allows them to be able to do that, right?
mm,
So it's cool that you're in a space, you have a business, you have that flexibility. I can relate to that
yes.
because I'm in the same boat. Now, what made you want to pursue education?
Oh, bro, I thought I could be better than the teachers I'd had. I was really let down from some people when it came out about Cortez's mum being pregnant. People that I really looked up to, teachers telling me I'd become a stat. Oh,
Really?
right, yeah, bro. Oh, Raymond, you let yourself down. Oh, Raymond, you're another. Couldn't get away with that today. Um,
Wow.
but bro, there was just the way the innovation just lacked. Just here, copy this every day. Copy this. Miss, when are we talking? When are we actually going to go and visit some stuff? Let's talk. No innovation, no drive to change up what we had in front of us. No fun, no laughter, and we all remember those great, cool teachers, right? You can probably think of a name right now. I think of names. I wanted to be that guy for kids. I wanted kids to turn up to school, but let's get them turning up to school passionate about it, knowing that they've got someone in their room who's there to defend them and look after them and advocate for them, that has fun but still gets results. And that was my driver. Becoming school principal young, I just thought, right, how do I have bigger impact faster? So I was like, right, principalship. So I just set everything I did, bro. I just set my goals on, right. So to become a good principal or a great principal, I need to do this, 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 this. And I had really cool people that stepped in. Jan Whaley, Tony Gray, all these people that stepped in and knew how to manage me. They were great leaders. They knew how to bring the best out of me. They knew how to pull me into line. In fact, I just saw Jan a month ago. She's 81 now. She still pulls me into line.
Love that.
Those people have stepped in through my life that have recognized the talent or the abilities I have and have helped nurture who I am today.
Wow, that's powerful.
Mm.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. There is that one teacher, or we can, reflect back and remember that one teacher who really influenced us in primary school and high school, I can remember a teacher called Mrs. Leaftink.
Yep.
And I remember her because she invested so much in me. She was like, man, like, honestly, I couldn't read or write properly in school, but I could definitely do art. And she
Yep.
bragged about that. She was like, wow, and we had this book parade. She made me draw like lobsters and stuff, and all the kids would fill it up with newspaper. So I was the artist, and everyone was the, had this factory line going on. And then she'll acknowledge me in front of the school, be like, Pasi created this, and I just I felt like a hero.
Yes.
And I remember during Easter one time, I'm not saying that I'm the teacher's pet or anything, but all the kids got like an Easter egg about that size, and I got this basket of Easter eggs. I was like, I felt special,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Especially a kid who lacked a lot of confidence, but there was one person who brought out the best in me. And sometimes, like what you're saying, in education, it shows the importance of teachers there and how much they can influence and impact a young person's life and who they become in the future. And this is great
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you still have a relationship with someone,
Yeah. Yeah.
even in their 80s.
Yeah, but in the end, bro, what I realize is that those great teachers were always pushing back against what was really asked of them. I know that. I know that they were doing things that could have been looked upon as favoring or you're not doing what Pussy really needs, which is what the system tells them that they need. And it's rubbish. Those great teachers, that teacher taught you how to think, how to execute, how to be proud, how to get your work out there, seek feedback. You did all the art. Did every kid like it? Maybe not. Deal with that. Those lessons are far more serving in life than what reading level you are at. And that's why I'm not in formal education, because I don't believe in it. I don't believe that we have to put every kid through the same ringer for hopefully the same results. Yes, they do need basics, reading and writing and basic arithmetic. Yeah. But how do we get them to think? Like think and tie into build some opinions that can be challenged. Not have cognitive dissonance that just that's it, that's what I believe, that's what we've got to do. Just walk around hoping to find people that go, have you thought about this? And that's what schools, when I've worked with great teachers here and overseas, they're the best at that. They get kids to go, have you thought about that? And they're like, sir, no, I haven't. And that's what has really driven me in my entrepreneurial journey too, is like, well, why not? Yeah. Pretty straightforward approach, but one that I've certainly continued to really push.
I love that. And I think that's what great leaders do.
Yeah.
Teacher, or, call it whatever you want, titles, but leaders who bring out the best in people, who teach them, who challenge them to think differently, who empower them to make decisions, to do things on their own, right? Without having to tell them what to do, they can figure it out, right? It's like problem solving, critical thinking.
Coping, bro. Like, see, when my last teaching role officially was at Manureo Intermediate, and I had the gifted and talented class. And start of the year, I remember saying to these kids, you've been told you're awesome. Cool. We're going to roll with that. But I'm going to put you into positions you've got to cope. Because if you're brilliant, show me. Don't tell me. Show me. And how you're going to show me is that you're going to cope. I'm going to change up some timelines on you. I'm going to call for meetings with you. I'm going to question some of your work and some of your decisions. I'm going to go and seek other people to come and look at your stuff. You're saying it's so cool. Let's go and test it. Let's test the market. Let's figure that out. And I built an environment that allowed them to really go out and push boundaries. Like one thing, bro, at that time, Skype was the thing. And we weren't meant to let them out of the class unsupervised, but we had all these iPads come in, and I set up Skype IDs on every single iPad linked to my own Skype. And they were all off around the school doing their mahi and work, and one of the teachers kicked off about it. And I was like, whoa, what's your problem? Oh, they're not meant to be out of class. I was like, well, I know where they are. Where? So Skype answers, hey, sir, where are you guys? I'm at the library doing these things. It's showing me. Cool. Hang up. Ring. Where are you guys? Oh, we're just in the auditorium. We're just testing this out, blah, blah. Cool. Hang up. Like, let's break what's currently being purported as success in a classroom by giving these guys opportunities to cope. And if they let me down, that's okay. We've got to figure that out. But that's how life works, right? You let yourself down, you let down whānau, let down your mates, you let down your footy team, whatever. You either disappear or figure it out and grow. And that's what I that coping skill, that coping mechanisms, bro, like that should be a work on for everyone.
I love that. Coping skills. It just makes me think differently now as an educator. It's like, don't just teach them skills, but give them a situation, a context, a scenario where they have to apply that.
Yeah.
Right?
They got to
Here's a problem, solve it using this.
Yep.
Figure it out.
Yep.
Right? I love that. Before we get into, and balance could mean different things for different people. Balance for my family, balance for your family, right? How do you balance career and family? I want to fast forward to your leadership experience as a principal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned earlier, oh man, wasn't my favorite thing to do. Let's talk about that. Like, what were some of the lessons or the key things that you learned being a principal, leader of school, of students? And the flip side, if you could wave a magic wand and make some changes, what would you change?
So at that stage of my leadership journey, I was a pace setter. So I get out in front and I'm telling everyone, keep up. And I was doing all sorts of different things, getting the garden sorted, gutting the old classroom and refurbishing it and bringing it back to life and running this program and sports programs doing this and da 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 da. Keep up. Come on, you got to keep up. And people ultimately didn't. And yes, I achieved some cool things, but not with everyone else. I still think that was ego-driven. A desire to prove myself. I was young. I was still carrying the teenage dad label, even though I was 10 years on. But I was a pace setter, and I had Tanya, who was our office lady, just sit me down one day, bro, and she'd say, now listen. She'd say, you move too fast. No one keeps up. No one knows what's going on. No one knows what you're doing. And I was like, oh. And she's like, you got to slow down. Slow down. Or write some things down. Or do something like that we can come back round to. Because no one keeps up. And that was quite confronting. I took it really well. It was quite confronting. I think in an intellectual space where I've always prided myself on being able to code it all really well and carry a level of intelligence that certainly might not initiate that I'm from where I'm from. But ultimately, it can ostracize people. And you got to bring people with you. So the leader who I am today, I would like to suggest that I am far more of a master facilitator than I am the out front leader. And yeah, there are still some elements that are still uniquely me and that I deliver through the podcasts where I'll sit down in front of the camera because I'm pissed off about something and I'll just talk for 12 minutes without notes. That is something I'm capable of doing. But I can facilitate far greater environments these days and putting people and their potential into the right place on the bus. And that's a far more rewarding leadership journey. But the other thing that pushed me out too, bro, is I had to fire a teacher. And that wasn't nice. I had to end someone's career. I wasn't comfortable with that power. I still am not very comfortable with that power. That's probably that's built on my desire to kind of still people please a little bit. That was a hard thing, bro. That was really hard. Watching someone's demise and then having to move them on. Realizing what the system's doing to enable these sorts of behaviors. I just realized I didn't want to be part of that as well. That we can build environments where people can turn up, hopefully, And I despise this leave your shit at the door. How do I leave my emotions
Exactly,
at the
how?
door? It's rubbish. That's rubbish. And so, and those people I spoke about, Tony Gray, Jan Whaley, Mr. Henley Smith, Mr. Wilson, they never told me to leave they didn't stop me when I was, hey, you need to stop. I feel like you got something, leave it at the door. Like, they never did that. They just walked me through it. They facilitated. And so, going back to what you're saying, bro, I am a far better facilitator today. My leadership thought is not around me out the front. It's more about me on the side, the guide from the side, and creating as much opportunity to be accessible and available to the people that need me.
Wow, that's powerful. I mean, your challenges, your failures, past failures can teach you a lot, right? Sometimes they say that it's your best teacher, right? I love what you shared there. A young leader, and you know what I've learned from that experience is you've had to learn from others in order to grow, but you've also had to learn more about yourself as well in the process, right? Man, getting told up front, hey, you're not doing things right.
She was
Hey,
German
you
too,
need to do this
so it was
better.
real harsh.
Yeah, we can't keep up. But it takes a lot of humility
Mm.
to be able to just take that feedback on. Anyone could have been offended and be like, "Oh, stuff this," right?
Yeah.
Stuff you. But that's not what you did. You took that feedback, you grew from it, right? And you learned a lot about yourself, what you liked and what you didn't like. You didn't like that part of the role where you had to let people go, and that's okay, right? And there are other parts that we do like, and we can leverage that. Now, I can imagine a lot of that experience now, fast forward to what you do today, is helping you,
Yeah.
right? Give us, our audience, a little bit more context around what you and Courtney are doing today with your business.
Yeah, we had a very clear, well, certainly kind of year 2 in, we're into our 7th year. We had a very clear desire to remove a lot of our DNA out of the business. A lot of the research I'd done is that founders are often, well, not all founders are Steve Jobs. In fact, very small amount of founders are Steve Jobs. And that most founders are the bottleneck and the friction within the business. And they control too much without having deep oversight about what is actually needed and going on. So we work really hard to remove our DNA from the business, and what that means is that future focus early learning is not built on Ray and Courtney. It's built on the actual values and execution on what we truly believe is future focus, the future focus way or way of thinking. And so you have to drop your ego a wee bit in that you can't always be involved in making every single decision. And ultimately, where we've ended up is we now have a CEO. 6 years it took us to have a CEO, which we're really proud of. We know plenty of businesses that are bigger than us, that have been going twice as long as us, that still can't let go of the control.
Wow.
And we're really proud of that. And we've built all our leaders internally. Ashley was a centre leader. She had been a centre leader for a long time in other in Australia and here. I was doing one-to-ones with her weekly for 2 years. John Maxwell, we were using 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. We were honing her because she was going to have to be working with leaders, so not just teachers, but working with your top flyers. So what does that require? What does that mean? What biases do you carry that will catch you out? What's your blind spots? And there was so much powerful work there for both Ash and I, and Courtney and Ash and I, to get her now. So she's fully running it, and we're really proud. It's not because we were on a holiday, bro. Like, that's not what we want. What we know is that future focus and the evolution of that company needed someone else that was full-time. That was because we have other projects that Courtney and I are doing. It needs, if we love and respect it that much, it needs its own person. And so we stepped out of the way. Ash has ascended. And so that's why it's funny. People ask me what I do, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm a director, but, I don't make many decisions at all, really, now, at all. So, which is really cool. And we're really proud of that, bro.
So how do you still keep your finger on the pulse around how things are going with Future Focus?
Well, I'll give you a good example. And Ash wouldn't mind me talking about it. The other day, something had gone down. It was quite tough. She had a chance to have a talk to Courtney, and Courtney told me. And I rang Ash and said, hey, some stuff going down. She's like, yeah. I was like, shall I bring some lollies and we'll have a sit down? She's like, please. And going back to what I said, bro, accessibility, am I approachable? Those things still maintain. I still get round the centres, bro. I still go and see people. But for the first 6 months, essentially, we've stepped right back because it's a parent thing. Kids will go to the other parent. So we stepped back so Ash could make all those decisions. Now everyone's used to that she's the decision maker. And so what I do now, I've just slowly, quietly reinserted myself back into some things. Our tech project is run through with the trials being entirely built on our centres, so I've still had interaction with the leaders. But yeah, it's ultimately I've stepped back to come back in slowly, quietly, in a non-decision-making way.
Yeah, well, you're still supporting, coaching, giving a little bit more
Yep.
guidance, right? I love going back to what you said, trying to remove the DNA out of the business or out of this thing that you're building, and building the business not on what you want, but what it needs.
Yeah, what the
Right.
community's asking for, what your teaching team is asking for, what your frontline people are asking for, what your leaders are asking for. What does the sector require? If we cannot open ourselves up to hear and listen, and founders get in the way of that. We built this. This is ours. But actually, we need to make sure we're open to hear everything that needs to be listened to from the sector and community. And ultimately, for us, it's our teachers. They're our product, dare I say. We've always been a teacher-focused company. And founders can get in the way. Their voice is too loud. Their suggestions become directives. I might say, hey, have you thought about doing this? All of a sudden it's, Ray wants me to do that. Those are the things that can happen with an owner-founder type situation, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just building an environment that I got frustrated out of in teaching. I'll be building exactly the same thing.
Yeah. I love it. Just sitting here listening to you. You've got a lot of passion around building something that's a lot more sustainable for the people and for the need, right? It's not so much, what do I want out of it? It's like, what does the community, what does the leaders, what do the parents, the teachers, the kids need? And what I love about that is you wear a lot of hats, right? You say you're a director, but I believe you wear a lot of hats. You just even told us that you're working on multiple projects or other things, ventures with your wife. But you claim that your most important roles out of all the hats that you wear is being a husband, and being a father. Now tell us about that. You in my mind, I'm sitting here like, man, how do you juggle all of this? Our audience is probably thinking the same thing. So how do you balance in practical terms, and what does it look like day to day, being a business owner, entrepreneur, and also being a father and a husband?
Yeah. The first thing I want to dispute is, I think hard work is a fallacy. I think hard work only matters to a certain point. Then other things have to happen. Look at the All Blacks. Could we say that you can become an All Black without hard work? Well, no. No, you can't. Every All Black works as hard as each other, right? But there's only one captain. And we generally know the captain is going to be the captain before they're the captain, right? Like, we knew Richie McCaw was going to be the captain. We knew Kieran Reid was going to be the captain. We knew Sam Cane was going to be the captain. Why? Because they apply themselves in other ways. And they might not even have the C on their arm. I've been lucky to reconnect in with Kev Milamu. And, you listen to him. You know why he was who he was. Because, yes, hard work matters. But I believe it's a fallacy that we tell young people, you have to always work hard. Really, you've got to work smart. You've got to get out of the way for people that are smarter than you and let them do their jobs. because if we don't, then we can't have what we pride ourselves on the most, which is being a husband and a father for me, first and foremost, in that order. We can't really work on those aspects if all the time I'm just working hard. Me working harder on receiving ideas from my wife is not going to help me receive ideas from my wife better. I've actually got to dig in and start thinking a little bit about why does that challenge me? Why is my attachment piece still bugging me when my wife's suggesting something to me and I get defensive about it? When if someone else said that to me, I probably wouldn't get defensive. Why do I miss the signs that my wife's struggling or that my kids are struggling, and if I'm not tied into hard work, what is it? Is it because there's still parts of me from my own childhood that gets in the way? That's not hard work. That's awareness. Go and step out in front of a train and see how quickly aware you become. I'm not suggesting you go and do that. But what I'm saying is that awareness is a skill and an element, is being part of the success and continual work on for my success as a husband and a father. So balance, when we're talking through that, and I'd like to logically think through this. I was a fantastic teacher that changed lots of lives from 9 till 3 in the day. So why can't I change lives from 9 till 3 in the day? Why? If Elon Musk is worth $450 billion, and he works reportedly 120 hours a week, well, why can't I be a billionaire of 40 hours a week over 20 years of time of consistency and pressure? Well, what's the difference? I've just scaled that back by 100%, 100x, but do you know what I mean? I just logically try to think through those things, and so and when I might mean billionaire in money, but I also might mean billionaire in having a great marriage that my kids see, love, see parents that do scrap about things because we're passionate people, but we work things out. We still hug and make up. We're not angry at each other for weeks on end and no talking in the house and things that I grew up with. Those things can be achieved by making sure that I use other aspects outside of just hard work.
Wow.
I think deeply on that stuff, bro, because what do we have when we go to the ground? Hopefully we have our family there by our side saying goodbye. There are plenty of families whose children will not turn up to the funerals of their parents or their siblings. And that's sad. So we can't take the money, we can't take the cars or whatever it is, my Warriors jerseys, but we can take the love and admiration and the legacy and the way we made people feel. That carries.
I love that. You walk in the talk there when you're saying, coming back to the key point that's hitting home for me is working hard versus working smart. You can work hard, but you hit a ceiling eventually, right? Whereas working smart is about how do you do things faster? How do you do things more efficiently so that you get back more time, right? You just gave an example around working smarter, found a CEO, now can help run the business. You don't have to be there in the day-to-day, and it gives you back more time to be with your family. I mean, I even just hear with the podcast, and I mean, this is a little example, but this podcast we're recording live, 10 minutes after this, we'll be ready for uploading onto social media. We've just gotten so efficient compared to like 2 years ago. It'll take us almost a day to record and post-production and to upload on social media. Now I've got more time to work on the business.
Yes.
And it's the same thing in terms of family and in the home. It's like, how can we be more efficient? We have more time to be together, more time to be with our kids, pick them up from school, take them to swimming, whatever it is. One little example is me and my wife, we've got responsibilities, and sometimes it can feel like a routine. You pick up the kids, I drop off the kids, you do this, I do that, right? And that's just very transactional. But sometimes we've got to step back from the day-to-day and work on each other. Be with each other. We read our scriptures. We pray. We talk. we talk. It's like, how things going? I love that passion, and connect. So there needs to be that element as well in the home, because we can get so lost in the day to day. And it's coming back to what you're saying about working hard versus working smart. And I feel like in perspective, that's what it is for me. What is one thing that you try to do daily? Like, even if it's something small, to make sure that you show up 100% for your family.
I swim in the ocean every morning. It's very grounding, especially going through winter.
Even in the cold, eh?
Yep.
You're in there. What time? Like, what time?
So my morning routine generally, bro, is I get up and I always get the kids. I read a lot. I'm a very passionate reader. So I generally will have something reading that I'm reading at the time, and I diary a lot.
Nice.
I journal a lot. But my general routine out of that is I make the kids' lunches, let my wife get herself organised. Women have to do their hair and stuff. I don't, it's getting easier by the day. Chuck a hat on. But I love, because I didn't have this opportunity with my son, I really savor being able to make breakfast every day and wake up with my kids every day.
Love it.
And Cortez and I, we've talked about this a lot, but those are the lessons from that time where I've had another shot at being a parent. So making their lunch, making breakfast. My youngest, Frankie's going through having an omelette every morning, so I love making that for her. My oldest, she's hard to feed, but right at the moment she eats a lot of egg soldiers, and I love that. And I have music on, and or I listen to the same lecture really from a guy called Jim Rohn.
I like Jim Rohn.
Yeah, so I have those sorts of things going, something positive and uplifting. Once they're all sorted in their uniforms, hair brushed, then it might be about 7:30, bro. I shoot off, go for a swim down the beach, and just feel that gratitude, that grounding.
Wow.
There's people that I see pretty regularly that swim at certain times too. But yeah, bro, I just go in and big breaths, big breathing, feel my feet into the ocean, breathing, gratitude, breathing, and then come out and text my wife that I've actually survived and not been swept away. And then get back and drop the kids at school most days. It's a pretty consistent routine, but it doesn't. Remember, some people do get thrown if their routine gets blown, but I don't. If I don't, like this morning, I decided I was up early. I was meant to drive up, and I thought, I'm going to fly up. So I booked the flight at 4:30 this morning. So obviously I didn't swim this morning. It's not like it throws me. But yeah, that's the general gist, and it allows me to practice gratitude. Like look at what happened overnight, bro. That flight from India to London.
Yeah, I saw that.
Terrible, bro. Terrible.
Yeah.
Life can be taken like that, right? Terrible. So, yeah, I love to spend some time practicing gratitude in the morning. Just thankful for my role in things. And yeah, that I get to do things like this and be above ground.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. Even as you just walked in the door this morning, just your countenance, you just light on your feet. You just didn't feel stressed or anything. You just felt like, I'm here, I'm present,
Yeah, thank you.
Keen to connect. And I could see how all those little things that you do in the morning kind of keep you grounded.
Bro, 2 and a bit years ago, I was terrified of the ocean.
2 and
a bit years ago, bro, I was terrified. I had this fear that if I couldn't see what was under my feet, I couldn't do it. Like, bro, to the point like swimming in a pool at night was terrifying at times. But the ocean terrified me. And my mate Russell Packer, he's a very good friend of mine, and him and I work together, and he's come through a lot of redemption, and he's such an inspiration for me. He talked me through a lot of breathing, bro, and kind of reconnected me into that space and the ocean, and a lot of neurodiverse and people with trauma and troubles seek out water, and bro, it's been revolutionary for me. And it's got to be the ocean. I don't like ice baths or things. I don't find that, but I do carry a lot of peace in my mind as of today. Since certainly from the last 4 years, I've worked hard to really have a daily flow of peace. But the ocean, bro, has been revolutionary for my own status of peace in my mind. Yeah. And that's something I'm really grateful for.
That's awesome. Waking up in the morning, getting time with your kids, and doing things that on your own agenda, your own time. People can only dream of that, and people be like, "Man, that's a luxury, man."
Yeah.
But what's your advice for those who don't have that amount of flexibility that you and I have, for example? Like how can you still achieve peace, even though you've got a 9 to 5? You might not have that luxury of seeing your family as much as you'd like to.
Yeah. Be intentional. Be intentional. Ask yourself, could you cope if they weren't there all the time? What would you give for another minute of someone who wasn't there? Being intentional, like I'm not on Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. I've been off social media for quite a long time because that consumed a huge amount of time. And I even find stuff with LinkedIn, I can even get a bit consumed by it. Yeah, for me personally, we also have to pick a time that we do need to work hard. I chose to, my first going to university, I realized I wasn't going to become an All Black. I still played rugby, but it just dropped down my agenda. So I was okay to give it up. I was working 3 jobs to get through, see my son and do all that, and then got to uni and got to my teaching career, and I was there first thing and I was going home last. I was running sports clubs, I was running kapahaka, I was running, everything, bro, anything and everything I could do. Testing myself out, testing out how well I coped, hiding from some things, running from some things in my own personal life too, for sure. But ultimately, you've got to pick a time that you've got to work hard. And then after that, you don't. That's
Nice.
That's the thing. I think as long as you start saying to yourself that this isn't, it's just for now. I'm only working hard for now. For now. My brother, I love my brother, and him and I have reconnected. We actually didn't talk to each other for 10 years, bro. We had a big falling out, and but in my early years of uni, I went down to the meatworks. He'd just got out of the military. He was working at the meatworks, and I remember going to the meatworks, bro, and watching these guys. I was working there through uni holidays, trying to earn some coin, and no disrespect, bro, but watching these guys work so hard and then drink every night, and I was like, I see why they're here for 30 years. I was like, I don't want that. They can have it. They're cool. They're happy. This is not me judging them. I'm just casting judgment on myself that I don't want that. I don't want what my dad had, the revolving escalator of work, pub, home, work, pub, home. I didn't want that. I didn't want that. So, and Jim Rohn, he talks about there's got to come a time where you get disgusted with what you have in your life. That you got to, and not disgusted with yourself. I didn't want to be broke. I didn't want to. My first financial goal, bro, was can I fill up my petrol without looking at my bank account? That was my first financial goal. And I remember achieving it, and when I was principal, thinking, is that it? Is that all I said for myself? I was like, it's those things, bro, where you got to decide, right, for the next 5 years, I'm going to work my butt off so that, but there's got to come a time where you've got to do all the grind. That's a reality. How long is up to you? Because lots of people blow money on bad things. Do you need that car or those shoes or that hat or whatever, Those, just toss up what life you want and go from there. So My advice is if you're currently stuck in a 9 to 5 and you are aware that you don't like it, you're already one step ahead. That's the first thing. If you've got awareness around that, boom, you're away. The second thing is put a timeline on it. Write it down. Share it with someone. Tell your wife. Tell your dad and your mum. I'm going to do this for the next 5 years, and that's it. I'm moving to something else. And number 3 is get used to making promises to yourself and following through on the damn things. That's the thing, bro. Execute, execute, execute. Don't say something. Don't tell me, show me. Just have that attitude, and then from there, because, when you put it out to the world, bro, people want to help. The world conspires to see you succeed, man, and that's why I believe it. Putting it out, like even this, bro, this is podcast 7. I started there, I said I want to be a guest on 10 podcasts. I'm 7 deep. And people say, oh, you didn't do enough. Yeah, but that's what my goal was. I've put it out to the world. I'm going to achieve it. Boom. Next year I'll do something else, But it's those things, bro, where we can still intentionally decide that what our life is currently, we're not happy with. I'm aware of that, and now I need to take some action.
I love that. I love that experience around what you shared around how you spend your money, but even deeper than that, it's how you spend your time.
Yes.
Right? Look, there's no use comparing my life to your life, my time to your time. We're just all different.
Yep.
Our scenarios are different, our families are different. But whatever time you get, make sure it's quality.
Mm.
Coming back to your point around how do you show up and be all in, be present,
Yep.
is staying grounded, doing those things that you do. That's something that works for you. That's your ritual, morning ritual. That works for you, that helps you stay grounded, be grateful, be positive. Do something consistently. Find a ritual that works for you so that whenever you get that time, you're invested. That's quality, you're present, right? And I think that's really good for our listeners.
And just on that,
Yeah.
sorry, Pussy, I had a really good example given to me about this from a man who told me the best moment in his day is waking up to go. He's going to the gym and he gets to see his 2 sons. They're going off to work, and at about 6 o'clock in the morning, they see each other, and it's 1 minute, and it changes the tone of his day, like 1 minute, bro, of intentional connection. Hey, boy. He can see if one of his boys is down and one of them can go off to work and the other might stay for a couple of minutes and just talk through, or they get to celebrate success. But he just said, bro, it's just 1 minute. Most mornings, it's just 1 minute. See you, boy. Have a great day. And if we can make that sort of change on ourselves in 1 minute, then what can we do with 10? What can we do with 1 hour? What can we do with 7 hours a week? We have 168 hours in the week. Do the maths. I say this to me. You show me a maths. 168 hours. Remove all your sleep, 56 hours for sleep, remove your work day, remove all that. You'll still have 30 hours, guaranteed. You'll still find 30 hours there. And you tell me you can't go and work on yourself and your dream? You can't go and serve at your church? You can't go and coach a team or be there for your kids' dance recitals and things like that? Sorry, don't agree. We all get the same amount. We all get 168 hours a week. How we use that is entirely up to us.
Wow, that's a powerful example. I think that's perspective for our audience there. If it's 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, it's, how present you are, how it's how you perceive, it's your attitude, how you show up.
Absolutely.
Right? I love that. I want to come back to your relationship with your wife, Courtney, right? You are both business partners and life partners, like family, right? How do you navigate being partners in business and in family?
Yeah, it's hard because I'm difficult. Nah, look, we're both very intelligent, driven individuals that are also trying to work through their own triggers and traumas that we're trying to beat in life. Look, we've gotten better and better and better at sitting down and communicating about things. We actually love talking about work. It's our hobby. It's something we love. It's because it's driven by social outcomes as well as business outcomes. We are a company that must be financially capable as well as socially capable. So there are some things that I'm good at that Courtney not so much, and there are some things that she's exceptional at that I'm terrible at. And in some ways, bro, we've worked out, we've almost dumbed ourselves out of those roles for each other. There are things that our team would ask me, and then they'll go, "Oh, I don't even know why I'm bothering asking you," because I just have no idea. I'll say, "Well, I don't know," and Courtney, same. People ask Courtney, I don't know, so that means we've got very clear, defined roles around certain aspects. But you still got to learn. Growth has challenged us. A pandemic has challenged us. We've been almost recessionary in the last 18 months. Has been a tough time economically for lots of people. So we see that on the front line in the industry we're in. But ultimately, don't keep score. Don't keep score. Even if you blow up in the first part, come back around to it, because you're most likely wrong while you're blowing up, or you've made an emotional decision first without going logically. And have fun. It's been fun building a company like this with Courtney, and continuing to build on it. And one thing one of my mentors told me, he growled us about this, bro. We didn't celebrate enough. We were like, yes, on, yes, keep going. And he was like, stop, man. Go have a drink. Go out for dinner. At least. Go for a holiday. Take yourselves away for a weekend. You know what I mean? And that was really nice. That was really nice. So you don't have to keep kicking goals. So yeah, those sorts of things. Those sorts of things are important.
Yeah.
I get to work with her every day. I wake up with her and the kids and go to work and come back, and it's a pretty privileged situation, if you allow it to be.
Yeah. I think what makes the journey more enjoyable is that you and your wife have a common goal. You guys are striving towards something together.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas I can see probably in some households or some relationships, they've got their own goals.
Yes.
One person's pulling that direction, the other person's pulling that direction, right? That's okay. You can have your own personal goals. But I think what's just as important is having a shared goal together.
I think to add to that too, bros, we have shared fears. We don't want to leave a poor legacy for our children. We don't want to be broke. We don't want for our children's children to not have to struggle to buy a house. I think shared fears are a bigger driver than shared goals. You've got shared visions. How we get there is through kicking goals. But shared fears are a very strong driver. Courtney's very aware of my fear of a poor marriage, a bad marriage. In fact, the book that I picked up first, where I really know I was looking to change the course of my life, was a book, The Habits of an Effective Marriage. And that was the first book I picked up, the second one being Dan Goleman's Emotional Intelligence, where I was like looking for help, because I was so terrified after watching my parents of having a poor marriage, a bad marriage, a marriage where there wasn't much love unless they were drinking until it got to a certain point. So, but then the shared fear comes in from, being left as a single mum, or things, those sorts of things. So we've got shared fears around having strong relationship or not. Those shared fears are very powerful drivers. They're not crutches. They're not something that's an inhibitor. But we want to make sure that we get to, as a team, really address those shared fears, so that when our children go into their adulthood, that they have seen two parents work through some of those fears, and not lump them on them as adults, and what that manifests into when they try to execute on life.
I love that. That's powerful. I'm glad you emphasized that. just as important as having shared vision and goals to help us achieve that is having shared fears. Now, that's quite an interesting perspective. I've never heard that one before. But what I like about that is they were on the same page around what we don't want. We're very clear this is not what we want.
Yes.
And we're also clear on this is what we want.
Yes. Yeah. Bro, and isn't that when you start to think of that, and for your audience, when I share that terminology, they will start to think, oh, I don't want to be broke. Yeah, and does my wife, does she not want to be broke? Maybe she doesn't want to be broke. Yeah. Do you want to be broke? And she's like, no. I'm like, cool. That's a shared fear that we can figure out towards. We can address that. That I think that really leans into your limbic system. Our system is built biologically to avoid those things, but if we can build healthy conversations around those things, not that I'm worried about being broke. I'm being broke, certainly. I've been the dad where you really wished Santa was real because I couldn't afford presents for my son. I've been there, but I just don't want to get back there, and that's something we share. So I think in those elements, because sometimes, bro, like shared goals, like I want to be the biggest podcast star ever, and this person wants to be the biggest singer ever. Yeah, they sound similar entertainment, but they're actually two very different routes. And how does that bring out the best in each other? Versus, oh, hey, I actually want to deliver value to communities, large, gigantic value to communities. I'm scared of not delivering gigantic value to communities. Why are you scared of that? Oh, because of this, this, and this. Cool. What are you going to do about it? Oh, I'm going to go be a podcaster. Cool. I'm going to go be a singer. You can share in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot less friction because sometimes goals don't align anymore.
What I love about that is I absolutely believe in that because there's power in both, right? Like you have a vision that pulls you.
Yep.
But then you have these fears or consequences that you don't want that pushes you. And I think that either way, if it's a push or a pull, it's still motivation. It's still a driving force, right? Can you give us an example? There's a lot of fathers out there who probably feel this way, where they feel like they're dropping the ball or they have dropped the ball. Like, do you got an example where that's probably happened to you and you felt, man, but then obviously there's a way to correct it. And then you were able to put it back on course. Like, was there a challenge where you dropped the ball and how did you bring it back?
Yeah, I'll bring up a pretty big one. So Cortez, my boy, his mother and I never got on, unfortunately. Never. Still to this day. She did a great job with him, but we just never got on. We were kids, and we never have quite grown out of that. And as a father, I got to a stage in my life where I couldn't deal with that anymore, with this constant scrapping. And I was met at a crossroads. Do I pursue a relationship with Courtney, or do I pick staying around and being part of Cortez's life? And I picked the marriage, the relationship, the hardest choice that I've ever had to do in my life. I punished myself for that for so long. I may as well stayed back because I took away my ability. I forebode all my joy out of my marriage by punishing myself for the decision, the intention that I made. So I didn't go with the decision and run with it and try and take the best out of it. I did my best to sabotage both things. And thankfully, Courtney was strong enough to hold on. Fathers, you get pissed off with yourself a little bit, but then let go and forgive and move forward. I spent years, bro. Years. And I couldn't communicate that with Courtney. How do you turn around and say to the person you love the most about the other person you love the most and say, oh, because I picked you over Cortez and I feel real terrible about that? That's actually a very terrible conversation to have in either way. But the lesson here, bro, is that I punished myself for years, years. And so I didn't get the best out of anything. And dads, there is a reason why men take their lives way more than women. There are reasons why we do not go to doctors, why we always have stage 4 cancers, why because we feel like it's our obligation to hold on and hide and be tough. And but bro, what all I'm saying today is, if you realize and you're aware that you've made a choice and a mistake and it has slighted your children, apologize to yourself. Say, bro, that was the choice you made with the information you had at the time. Sorry you feel like you let yourself down. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself and go and apologize to who you need to. Don't keep apologizing. Be sincere in it. Tell Cortez, I'm sorry, boy. That was the choice I made. I'm sorry I let you down at that time of your life, but I'm here now. And if more men could forgive themselves for their past transgressions, we would have a far healthier society, and certainly a lot less people taking the ultimate leap and ending it all.
I love that. Some words of encouragement there. One of my final questions for you, Ray, is if someone feels like they're maybe spending a little bit more time on their business or a little bit more time at work and they're not being as invested or present at home, what's the first thing they should do to be realigned?
Set goals. Set goals. Write the goals down. I've got my diaries over there, bro. Set those goals. Write them down. Leave pages that you can come back around and reflect on them. Don't just write like I leave pages. I date my goals. I share them with people. Set goals. You have got nothing if you don't set goals. Like it's just in your head, and you can easily let yourself down with that because you set goals and you share those goals. I set goals as a husband, and I set goals as a father to each individual child. And I talk through them. I set goals. I put it like the podcast thing and think that there's nothing wrong with not achieving goals. There's nothing wrong with it. Setting them and putting them out to the world, putting them out to the ether is the best way to really level up and change your life. It truly is, bro. And it is and the reason why I write them in my diary, it's very hard to lie to yourself when you're writing. It's very hard to bullshit yourself when you're writing and coming back around. But it's also cool, and those all my diaries, bro, they'll be passed on to my kids. Now AI can actually read all the writing. You can, but that's my mātauranga, my whakapapa. That's my legacy that they will get to see. And hopefully we haven't gone through trauma where they haven't spoken to me for years and things like that. I'd hate that to ever be the case. But when I am gone and they can pick up all my diaries, and if they have been angry at me, that hopefully they can understand. See, that time when Cortez and I went together, bro, I used to email myself because he was only little. I used to email myself, hey boy, how's things? This is what we've been up to. I still got those emails. But those diaries, bro, when we set goals and we come back around and we date them and we celebrate them or we reflect on them and had a conversation about this, or this didn't go well, or it's a powerful way of really moving yourself forward, brother. And it's and your loved ones will really appreciate seeing and I'm not telling you to write stories and write Dear Diary. I'm just, I just find things, I write the titles in them, and if I come back, if it means something to me down the road, then I'll write on it. If not, it's just there. It's a capture of my thoughts, and it's something that I can keep coming back to reaffirm that I'm on the right track.
I love that. I love that, especially speaking from father to father. I love that around having goals. You said you got goals for each child. I had a goal. Me and my wife were talking about it. My daughter came up to me one day after primary school. She goes, Daddy, I applied to learn how to play the piano, but they wouldn't let me. I was like, why? You know, it's like, because the teacher just said I wasn't ready.
Mm,
You know,
mm.
my daughter has dyslexia.
Yep. Yes.
So reading notes and stuff like that, it's just gonna be difficult, right? So as a father, I was like, oh man, that hit me hard. It's like, nah, I set a goal there in my mind. I'm gonna teach you how to play piano. Like I'm gonna find a way for you to learn how to play piano. I don't know how to play piano. So I went the other week. I was researching, looking for a piano, but I had this goal and I was just so focused on it. Went and bought a piano, delivered at home. Now she's learning how to play, and now we've got a tutor lined up. Like,
Yes.
you know, as a father, you know, it's in my DNA, if I can use that word, to provide for my family. And it's the legacy thing. I want the best for my children. I want them to do better than me.
Mm,
And so I'm going to invest in their potential.
mm.
So I set goals in my mind, and I'm going to do written now after this conversation. And I'm just so focused on it. And it just gives me more drive behind providing for my family.
Yeah.
It's like, there's this goal I've set for my daughter, and I'm going to make sure that I achieve it for her.
Yes.
And it just changes me as a man.
Yeah,
It
bro.
just,
The goal setting again, like Jim Rohn's lectures, he talks about it. He literally says, if you don't have goals, I could probably guess your bank balance within a few hundreds of dollars. Everyone that I've met that's done exceptionally well, and I'm not just meaning financially, they got goals. They've written them down. Like it's your North Star, bro. You know, like, and that goal there's such a great, powerful goal because not only does it allow you to help your daughter achieve what she wants, which is the piano, experiences, coping. You want her to have better than what you had. You know, all those things tied into one goal of helping my daughter play the piano.
yeah.
You know, time. You know, now we can provide a tutor for you. All those sorts of things. It's just so much. But if you don't write it down, bro, that's my thing. I write them down, share them with someone, share them with anyone. I actually have no cares in the world of me putting it out in the world and me not achieving. I don't care if you're going to sit and judge me. Oh, ha, you didn't achieve it. I don't care. I don't care. You know, Elon Musk, I heard him say, write down your 10-year goal and then figure out how you can do it in the next 6 months. And he said, you might not achieve your 10-year goal, but man, you'll get way closer towards it than if you just let it be for 10 years. And that's the aggressive approach to life that we've got to take.
I love that. If there's anything, you know, that we should be taking away from this episode is definitely walking away and setting some good goals for your career, for your family, as a parent. I mean, this is coming from a man who carries a journal around and
Yeah,
sets goals
literally.
writes goals on the go, right? He's always thinking about his goals. I love it. Look, we want to end this podcast on a high note. Everything's been high. This whole conversation has been high.
Thank you.
But we want to leave this conversation with a good word of encouragement for our audience. My final question is, why Warriors, man? No, that's not the question.
Well, started in 95, you see.
No, we're ending on a low note here. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the question. Look, you're a huge Warriors fan. Go check out this guy on his LinkedIn, his social media. I mean, it's Warriors everywhere, right? He's wearing Warriors right now, man.
Can I say though, like I've always loved I was a big Broncos fan. Then the Warriors came in. I loved like Trevor Gilmeister and those sorts of guys, the Walters boys and things. Paul Hoff was one guy I loved. But what really cemented it for me was when I saw the Warriors work in the community. And Kids Can at the time were giving out these jackets to kids and shoes and things, and the shoes weren't so big because they looked so much like they looked a lot like what the kids had, but the jackets were very observably Kids Can, and kids are ruthless, man, hassling kids about being broke. You got the broke,
Yeah.
you know. The Warriors let them use their branding, so just by putting that on the back of those jackets, it changed the whole landscape of kids wearing those jackets. Even though the jacket was there to keep them dry and warm, and kids refused to wear it, by having a big Warriors emblem on the back, that sunk it for me about this was a club that I want to be associated with. This was a club that I want to tie my name to. And I've made it. Put it out talking about goals. I've said like one day I'd love to be in a position to own the Warriors. because I know that I could, right now, with what I do is my practice for owning a club like the Warriors. But that was it. That cemented it for me for the Warriors when I saw such a when you're talking about brand and looking after brand, that selfless little act that I got told about was like, that was it for me. So that's an alignment. That's what it is. And I don't watch any other sport really except the Warriors. That's all. And it's that Origin, Queensland. But that, bro, is probably one lesser known fact around why I love the Warriors. And I'm lucky, yeah. So Russell and I get to work with Russell, and he's a very close, dear friend of mine. And Benny Matalino is a very good friend of mine as well. And they're just good people that I idolised at one point, but they're just good soul. Blake Ashford as well, just great souls of the earth. And yeah, that alignment piece there again, especially Big Russ. Him and I have a very deep alignment. Yeah, I'm just really privileged to be involved with the club.
Well, if you put it that way, oh my goodness! Now we know the whole Warriors just adds a lot more powerful meaning behind it. And I think what you're mentioning there is not, what you do on the field, is what you do off the field.
100%.
It's just as important.
Serve. I think that's the real joy in life, is being able to serve people, serve communities, serve the people that you work with, serve your leaders, parents, kids, wife.
I love it. Service. One big takeaway for our audience around, the importance of work and life balance.
There's going to be a time where you have to be out of balance. Just don't let it be forever. Yeah.
I love that. Write that, quote it, carve it in stone. Powerful way to end the podcast. Thank you again so much, Ray, for your time, for being generous with your insights, your experiences. We're much better for it. All the best.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Up the waz.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. If this conversation gave you something valuable, do me a favor. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. This show is all about helping you unleash your greatness, and the more we grow, the more we can bring you content that truly makes an impact. Thanks for being part of the Education Podcast. Let's keep pushing forward, and I'll see you next time.